come sit by the fire with me, because tonight I want to tell you a story the old ones told, the kind of story they saved for winter nights when the family was close. It is about a person who wanted power, real power, more power than a person is meant to carry. Now I will tell you right at the start, this is not a scary story, and I am not going to tell it like one. The old ones told it to ask a question, and here it is. What would you be willing to trade for power, and when would the price become too high? Hold on to that question, because someone in this story answered it wrong, and what it cost them is the whole teaching. Pull that log a little closer to the flame. There is no hurry tonight, and this is an old story, and old stories do not like to be rushed. They were meant to be told slowly, on nights like this one, with the wind outside and the warmth inside and nowhere either of us has to be. Before I begin, let me tell you plainly who I am and what this is. I am a character, an elder brought to life with the help of AI, and what I carry to you is a retelling. I am not an elder of the Dine nation, and I do not speak with their authority, and I would never pretend to. This story reached me from the outside, and I hold it the way you hold something that belongs to someone else, carefully, with both hands. The Dine are not one single voice. Families tell this story differently. One region tells it one way, another region tells it another, and the version I give you tonight is one telling among many, never the only one, and never the correct one. And I want you to understand what kind of story this is. It is a cautionary story. The old ones told stories like this in the deep of winter, when the nights were long and the family was gathered close, and they told them not to frighten anyone but to teach. Now, there are parts of this story that are sacred, parts that live inside ceremony and inside prayer, and those parts are not mine to open. I am going to leave them exactly where they are, unspoken, where they belong. I will give you only the layer that any of us can live by, the plain human lesson underneath. That is the part that belongs to everyone, and that is the part I was given to carry. So, there was a person once, and I want you to hear me when I say this person was not a monster, not at the beginning, not the way you would draw one for a child. This was someone much like you and much like me. Someone who was given a life, an ordinary measure of it, a place among relatives, a share of the work, and a share of the warmth. And for most people that measure is enough, or they learn in time to make it enough. But this person looked at the measure they were given, and something in them said it was too small. They wanted more, not more food, not more years. They wanted power, real power. The kind that puts a person above other people, the kind that lets you reach past the limits every ordinary life is held inside. And maybe it started as a small hunger, the way these things usually do. Maybe they had been hurt somewhere along the way, or passed over, or made to feel small one too many times, and something in them decided quietly that they would never feel small again. I tell you that part with sympathy, because that hunger is a human thing, and there is a little seed of it in almost every chest, including mine, including yours. The story is not asking you to look down on this person from a safe distance. It is asking you to watch closely what happens when that hunger is fed, and fed again, and never once told no. Because here is the thing the old ones wanted the young people to understand. That kind of power is never simply found lying on the ground, and it is never simply handed to you as a gift. It is bought, and the price of it is paid in a strange kind of coin. You do not pay for it with silver, and you do not pay for it with your years. You pay for it with the very pieces of yourself that make you a person among your people, and it is not one dramatic night. That is the part I most want you to see. It was not a single terrible choice made at a crossroads under a black sky, with thunder overhead. It was slow. It was a bargain paid down a little at a time, so quietly and so gradually that the person paying it could always tell themselves that this piece, this one small piece, was nothing at all. First they gave away a little of their kindness. Just a little. There was someone who needed help, and the helping would have cost them something, would have slowed them down on the road they had chosen, and so they looked the other way. And the world did not end. Nothing came to punish them. So the next time, it was easier. Then they gave away some of their honesty, because the road they were walking could not be walked in broad daylight with the truth spoken plainly, and so they began to shade things, to hide things, to say one thing at the fire and mean another in their heart. And that became easier too, and then, piece by piece, they began to spend the thing that mattered most of all, which was their own place among their relatives. They stopped sitting at the fire with the others in the evening. They kept their own counsel. They let the ties that bound them to their people go slack, one after another, because those ties were the very thing standing between them and what they had decided they wanted. Every strand of kinship they let go bought them a little more of the power they were reaching for. And I want to be honest with you about how all of this felt from the inside, because this is the part the story is truly warning you about. It did not feel like losing. Every single step of the way, it felt like gaining. They felt themselves growing stronger. They could do things ordinary people around them could not do. They were becoming, they believed, something more than they had ever been. And that is the trap of it. Nobody trades away their own humanity all at once, in one motion, with their eyes wide open, knowing exactly what it is they are handing over. They trade it the way a person spends money they have told themselves they are not really spending. A little now, a little more tomorrow. And each little bit seems well worth the price, right up until the day they finally stop and look at what is left. So let me tell you what was left, because that is the whole teaching, and everything so far has only been walking us to this door. They got the power. That is the part people forget when they turn this into a story to frighten children. The bargain was real, and it was kept. The person got exactly the thing they had reached for, the strength beyond an ordinary life, the reach past the ordinary limits. By every measure they had set for themselves at the start, they had won. And they were utterly alone. That was the price, and it had been the price from the very first day. They simply could not see it while they were busy paying it. They had no one left. The relatives were gone, and not because the relatives had cast them out in cruelty, but because there was nothing left to hold on to. You cannot go on standing inside a circle of people after you yourself have quietly cut every thread that tied you to them. They stood outside of K now, outside the whole living web of kinship that makes a DNA life a life, that makes any of our lives a life worth waking up to. They had power over people, and not one single person who loved them. They had a voice that could make others do as they wished, and no one left to say their name softly at the end of the day. They could reach past every ordinary limit, and they could no longer walk the good path at all, because the good path is a thing you walk among your people, in the middle of them. And they had traded their people away to get to the high, cold place where they were now standing. And here is the quiet center of the whole thing, the part the old ones wanted to land softly in the young ones and stay there. The power was worthless, not weak. It worked. It was simply worthless. Because everything that would have made power worth having in the first place, someone to protect with it, someone to share it with, someone to be proud of you across the fire, a warm place to come home to at the end of the long day, they had already sold every bit of that off to buy the power to begin with. They had climbed and climbed and climbed and reached the very top of a mountain where there was no one else at all and no way back down and nothing up there worth the climbing. That is what the old ones wrapped inside this story for the winter nights. Power bought with your own humanity is not wealth. It looks like wealth from the outside, and it feels like wealth in your hands while you are gathering it, but it is a poverty, the deepest poverty there is, the kind where a person can hold everything and still be starving. The real wealth was the very thing they spent in order to get it. The real wealth was the fire itself, and the relatives gathered around it, and the being carried when you stumble, and the carrying of others when they stumble. Nobody up on that empty mountain is a rich person. They only look rich from far away. And there is one more piece the story leaves resting in your open hands, a practical one, and it is the piece the ones who taught me lingered on the longest. Keep some discipline in your mind and in your heart. The hunger for more than your fair measure does not usually come at you like a monster at the door in the night. It comes as a small voice inside your own chest on an ordinary gray afternoon, telling you that you deserve more than you have been given, that the rules were written for other people and not for someone like you, that just this once the shortcut is surely worth taking. And a person who has kept a little discipline in their heart can hear that small voice for exactly what it is and let it pass on by and stay who they are. And here is the other half of it. Learn to see people clearly. Learn to look at a person and truly see what they are made of underneath, what they are reaching for, what they might be willing to spend to get it. Not so that you can go through your days afraid of everyone, so that you can know them, and so that you can know your own self, and so that you can tell the difference between someone climbing toward you and someone climbing over you. Now, I told you at the very beginning that this was not a scary story, and I have kept my word this whole time, and I mean to keep it right to the end. There is no reason at all to go to your bed afraid tonight. This was never a story about a thing in the dark that is coming for you. It was always, from the first word, a story about a choice. The same small choice that each one of us is handed over and over in the most ordinary clothes. What am I willing to trade, and for what, and at what point does the price become too high? And the answer the old ones leave with you is a gentle one. The real strength, the only strength that was ever worth having, is not the kind that lifts you up above your own people. It is the kind that keeps you standing inside the circle of the ones who love you. A person standing inside that circle, held and holding, giving and being carried, has more true power than anyone alone on any mountain in the world, and they have it without ever paying that terrible price, because it was never a thing that was up for sale. It was always a gift, freely given, and it was always already yours. So keep your fire, keep your people close to it, keep a small, kind watch on your own hungers, the way you would keep a gentle eye on a little child playing near the flame. And when someone offers you a shortcut that quietly costs you a piece of who you are, remember the one who traded too much, and remember what was waiting for them at the top of that mountain, and choose the good path instead. It is the longer walk. It is the better one, and you do not walk it by yourself. Thank you for sitting by the fire with me tonight, and until we talk again, walk in beauty.